Picture this, a hero bleeding out under a neon light sky, a lover sacrificing everything for their beloved, a warrior enduring unimaginable pain for a greater cause. These images captivate us, don't they? Have you ever wondered why we are so drawn to the stories of struggle and hardship? Why do we find beauty in the pain of fictional characters, and sometimes even romanticize about our own suffering? You've probably seen these memes. Beautiful sceneries paired with captions about tragic scenarios, like imagine bleeding out here. But why do we create and share content that glorifies pain? The truth is, suffering is universal. Every single one of us will experience that at some point in their lives. It's the exact opposite of pleasure, yet paradoxically we still crave it in our stories and fantasies. We want to suffer heroically, but we don't want to actually suffer. Look at what young people consume today. Video games, movies, and novels filled with conquest, war, and suffering. Every protagonist must sacrifice something, endure some level of pain, and overcome obstacles along the way. And it's not a coincidence. We all want to be the main character, because victory without struggle feels hollow. And these stories appear beautiful exactly because of the suffering they contain. Freuds Theory offers a fascinating lens through which to view our attraction to suffering. He proposes two fundamental drives that exist within us in constant conflict: Eros and Thanatos. Eros, the life instinct. It pushes us towards pleasure, creation, and survival. But its counterpart, Thanatos, the drive, pulls us toward destruction, aggression, and self-sabotage. And this eternal dance between life and that happens within us might explain why we are drawn to stories of suffering. In Freud's view, we all harbor an unconscious attraction to death and destruction. Yet our life instinct transforms it into something more meaningful. And when we watch a hero of a story suffer, we are satisfying both drives simultaneously, witnessing destruction when celebrating the will to live. Freud argued that this drive often manifests in not obvious ways. For example, in our repetition of painful experiences, our attraction to tragedy in art, and even in our pursuit of catharsis in suffering, so soul cleansing. It's as if we are trying to master death by confronting it in controlled doses through stories and art. But here is the key. Suffering alone is not what we romanticize. It's suffering for something, a greater cause, like protecting the innocent or upholding an ideal. When suffering has meaning, it becomes beautiful in our eyes. It's not the pain we crave, but the purpose behind it. Think about love stories, for example. Would Romeo and Juliet be as powerful without the tragedy? Would The Notebook touch our hearts without these struggles? A romance without hardships feels incomplete. But we don't want tragedies in our own love stories, don't we? Suffering, ironically, completes what we view as a good life. We often romanticize suffering because we associate it with growth. You can't become stronger without resistance. You can't become wiser without challenges. This connection makes suffering appear virtuous, a badge of honor on the path to self-improvement. Fyodor Dostoevsky, perhaps more than any other author, understood the complex relationship between suffering and meaning. In Crime and Punishment, we follow Rodion Raskolnikov, a young man who commits murder, believing himself to be above the moral laws. His subsequent suffering isn't just his punishment, it's the path to his redemption. In Notes from Underground, Dostoevsky's Underground Man argues that suffering is the only cause of consciousness. He suggests that humans may deliberately cause themselves pain, simply to prove that they are more than just rational creatures seeking pleasure. This character exemplifies our paradoxical relationship with suffering, simultaneously hating it and finding identity in it. In the Karamazov Brothers, Dostoevsky explores suffering from multiple lenses. Through the figure of Alyosha, he suggests that embracing suffering with love might transform it into something redemptive. And through Dmitri, we see how suffering can lead to profound personal transformation. And Dostoevsky himself was intimately familiar with suffering, having faced a mock's execution, years of exile, and epilepsy. Yet he wrote, "There's only one thing that I dread, not to be worthy of my sufferings." This perspective suggests that suffering itself isn't noble, it's how we respond to it that matters. The harsh truth is that romanticization of suffering always comes from a distance. When you are actually bleeding out, when you are in depths of depression, when you are experiencing clear trauma, there's nothing romantic about it. It's just pain. Raw, meaningless, crushing pain. So why do we keep romanticizing suffering? Perhaps because it makes us to make sense of the pain we can't avoid. By giving it meaning in our stories, we hope to find meaning in our own struggles. But we must be careful not to glorify suffering for its own sake. So the next time you find yourself captivated by a beautiful portrayal of pain, real suffering isn't romantic. It always comes post hoc. It's the meaning we find despite our suffering that makes life beautiful. And that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you find it interesting. If you did, don't forget to give me a like and a subscription if you want to see more content like this in the future. The comment section is for you, so if you have any questions, comments, let me know. Thank you once again, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye.